So we'll begin here with John.
Hey, Rabbi.
Yes.
I have a question that everyone I know my age and everyone single has. How can you find the right person in this dark times, in this dark world?
I've got a lot of married people with the same question. No, I'm kidding. Did I say that out loud? I didn't mean that. All right, so I just do that because Billy likes when I make faces. All right. He's going to do this like a whole reel one time with just me making faces. Let's put that on YouTube. Look, the thing of the matter is that we are not trained, instructed, mentored, guided, almost zero in picking and selecting a life mate, a life partner, someone you're going to live your life with exclusively. We're really not. We have this understanding that that's something we want. We see other people doing it. I mean, everybody around us seems to be doing that. They're getting married, but we also see half of them getting divorced. And that's because you've got really pathetic human beings married to each other. We're all pathetic on a lot of levels, and we're not very good at being, good, whatever that looks like in terms of relationships, right? Good in terms of relationships. But we also don't tend to have any really good instruction on the selection process. So you got two issues. One is, how do I find somebody? Really, the big question is, what happens when I find somebody? How do I know if they are that somebody? Okay, how do I know if is this person the right person for me to spend the rest of my life with? That's really the tougher question. Now, let me answer the first question first. You should be walking in emunah. Walking in emunah means it doesn't matter if it's raining, it doesn't matter if it's snowing, doesn't matter if it's 400 degrees outside, doesn't matter if there's a war going on, doesn't matter if there's poverty, doesn't matter if there's a tornado or famine or a hurricane. None of that matters. You're walking knowing that he fully has sovereignty over everything, okay? And if you trust that he has sovereignty over everything, that means that he also has sovereignty over providing you with shelter, clothing, food, income, all those things, including a spouse. Because I know that this comes up quite a bit. We don't have, and this is especially, I talk to the ladies as well as the men, we don't have a huge amount of people in this little pond we're all swimming in. Okay, it's a very small place to be fishing. It just is. I mean, when you talk about the fact that, Christianity is gigantic, several billion people. But then you might be, but I'm a specific denomination. But even that denomination's got millions of people, okay? Within the Messianic, if you take all Messianics, it's probably worldwide only a couple 100,000 maybe, those that claim to be Messianic on any level. I'm not even talking about Torah observant and covenanted properly. I'm just saying those who claim to be doing some Torah and believing in Messiah on some level, right? Very small relative to the planet. Planet's got, 7 billion people, okay? So it's a really small number. Now, you then take that and you go, I really would like somebody who's in m.t.o.i. I'd like someone who's under rabbi. I'd like someone who understands the walk that I understand, that understands what covenant is the way you understand what covenant is. And by the way, I would never, ever encourage any of you to marry anybody outside of that. This is not a cultish thing for me to say. This is me preemptively not wanting to deal with the nonsense when it goes bad. Okay? Look, there is no doubt that you can find somebody to marry. If you loosen up whatever standard you want to loosen up, you can find somebody. I'm just saying, depending on how loose you want to make that. Okay, you can make it about their belief system, you can make it about their looks, you can make it about their personality, you can make it about their income, you can loosen up your standards in any way you want. The question is, what are the things that make it work long term? Okay, so one of the things that makes it work long term is that two are walking together in agreement. Scripture tells you that two can't walk together unless they have an agreement on how they're going to walk. Now, you can tell me, but I know some people that are unequally yoked and they seem fine. Key word, seem. Okay? And some of them are fine. Did you want to get married to be fine? To just be okay? Or did you want to be spectacular, fabulous, and awesome and just having just the love of your life? Okay? Very hard to do when you're not on the same page in any area. Okay? You don't agree about money, you're going to have a problem. You don't agree about social things, you're going to have a problem. You don't believe the same about politics, you're going to have a problem. Religion, you're going to have a problem. Sex, you're going to have a problem. Anything that you're way off on, you're going to have a problem. Okay? Which is part of the vetting process that I teach to help minimize that problem. I'm only helping to minimize it because if you don't share what you needed to share with each other and you didn't mean it necessarily and you held things back or you said what you thought the other person wanted to hear, then it's not going to work. All right, so my encouragement to you, John, is there is somebody out and available and around that Abba may have for you. And by the way, I don't want you thinking about like your destiny of this one person, okay? There's probably more than one person out there that you could meet and be spectacularly working well with. So don't think that you have to find that one and only, and if you missed it, oh my gosh, I missed that one person. But when you do find one of those few people out there that would work well with you, that's what you need to pursue and latch on to, and never think that there's another one after that. Okay? Don't wonder, did I settle? Don't settle. Never settle. Okay, so first of all, emunah. We trust that Abba, if he has a plan for you to be married, has somebody available for you to marry at the right timing in the right way. Okay, that's number one. Look, I use this as a story all the time. I do not wish this on anybody. But I didn't get married till 35. I don't wish anybody to wait that long. I hated it. It was awful for me. I didn't like being single. But I found the right person at 35. Okay? That was worth the wait. But the thing is, I didn't know how worth it was going to be or not when I was miserable waiting. And I have to tell you, this is something I'm familiar with from the point of view, because you're like, well, but Rabbi, you didn't have the m.t.o.i at that time. Look, I started off single in my belief system in the Worldwide Church of God. Okay? Now, the church area I went to in New York, remember the Sabbath-keeping church, Holy Day-keeping church, feast, the kosher, all the laws. They kept everything the best they could. I'm not endorsing them. They don't keep anything now. I'm not even sure they still exist, but they moved to Sunday and everything else. But the thing is, when I was there, this church group that I went to in New York, in Queens, New York, had over 900 members. Probably over 100 single between the age of, say, 20 and 40. The problem was this. The singles between 20 and 30 were all men. There was no women. All the women that I could possibly show an interest in were either, when I was about 23, they were like 35 or older or 18 and younger. There wasn't anybody. So you may think, oh, but the congregation's so small, how am I going to find somebody? I was in a 900-person congregation with tons of singles that were just all guys. All right? Then I would find out, I'd go to a feast, I'd go to like Sukkot, and I'd meet some of these single ladies and find out they lived in like Alabama, where everybody in their congregation is all single women. I'm like, that's geographically undesirable. Okay, I'm in New York City and you're in Huntsville or wherever you were in Alabama. That just doesn't work. Or they were in Texas and like, oh, we got a lot of single girls here, but no guys. And I don't know why Abba did that, why he caused or allowed that. But this is not just because we're a small group, okay? Because you could be in a very large group and still there wouldn't be much choices. By the way, then I showed up in Florida to a congregation that was a split off in the United Church of God in Clearwater, St. Pete area, okay? And they had one single girl in the whole congregation, my wife, okay? So it doesn't need to be a whole lot of them there either. And I didn't pick her, she was the only one. They didn't pick me, I was the only one, all right? But it only needed to be one, right? Look, we've done a lot of weddings where people met each other at Sukkot and at Passover. People come to these events and they meet each other. That happens all the time. You just need to be doing the thing you need to be doing, which is what? Becoming the best possible whatever role you're in. For the men, become the best possible man to be a husband. For the ladies, become the best woman to be a wife. So that when you finally do meet the person, you're ready to do that part of it. Because if you meet that person and you're not prepared, that person's not going to want you. Because they're not going to want to wait for you to develop. Okay? Not unless you're both like 20 years old. Okay? They're going to want you to have already figured out a little bit of how to be what you need to be. Okay? I'm just saying, ladies, you want some great guy making a great living, then are you going to be a great wife? Do you know how to support a man? Do you know how to encourage a man? Do you know how to believe in your man? And all? Guys, you want a great wife? What are you doing to give her? What are you bringing to the table? Everybody should be thinking about, what am I bringing? Because you all know what you want, but do you bring anything to deserve that? Okay, that's what I want from both sides, because both of you guys are in delusion land. Okay, you ladies want something you have no qualification to get, and same thing with the guys. You want something you're not qualified to deserve either. Work on you so that you're ready, qualified, and a desirable, selection for whoever that person is when you meet them. That you have all of your ducks in a row and you're all set to go. Okay? That was probably the best singles. When I went to this one singles event back in that church, they had guys who would speak to us and teach us a little bit. And he said, you need to just become the best potential mate right now. Don't worry about finding one. If you were honest with yourself, you probably realized you weren't ready. I was not ready till 35. I just wasn't. I was so busy running around trying to start businesses and do all these other things and focus. I did not have the capacity to give that kind of attention to anybody. And a lot of the things I was doing would work, then they wouldn't work. And I wasn't stable enough either to provide, okay? And so it took a while. And so I can't be like faulting, well, why'd you let me be single so long? Well, but he's looking down at me because you were not ready. You were just not ready. And actually, he gave me a wife when he was ready to do something else with me, which is move me into this, which is what we ended up in ministry almost immediately after we got married, within like a year and a half. Okay, so that was why he timed that out. And so he's got the timing. So just be patient with that timing. Yes, these are dark times. Don't ever let dark times be anything that says, well, then maybe we shouldn't have marriages. Maybe we shouldn't have children and bring them into this terrible world. This terrible world? What's so bad about this world compared to any other world going back however many thousand years? The world's always been terrible. When was the world not terrible? Because even if it was not terrible where you lived, it was terrible somewhere else. The world's always been terrible. And it's also had pockets of not so terrible in windows of time. But you hear the young people today all like, well, what's the point? Global warming's just going to kill everybody. And what if it doesn't? Because it's not going to. But what if it does? See, they're listening. By the way, parents, you're messing your children up because you who obsess on all of these, end of world event, conspiracy, whatevers, they hear you. And then they wonder, what's the point? Everything's going to hell in a handbasket and we're all not going to, this life's going to end anyway. Why should we do anything? Why should I get a career? Why should I get married? Why should I have children? Every generation has this kind of a dumb conversation. And a lot of people make dumb decisions not to do these things thinking the world is ending. And then it doesn't. It says that when we get into that changed place, like when we're no longer in this physical suit, then we're no longer given in marriage. These things, because we're not going to be in a physical body. Until that, as long as you got a flesh suit on, we should be doing all the things he designed us to do, which is to get married, have children, and things that we're capable of doing. That's what you were designed to do in this model, right? When we get upgraded to the new model, we're not going to be doing those things exactly the same. Okay, we won't have the flesh part of it, right? But as the manufacturer produced us, he produced us to do these things, all right? Now, as far as that, when you do find somebody, don't do this from desperation. Don't settle. So here's my guidance to all of you. And by the way, this is for all of you who are married too. In your marriage and in your singleness, be 100% yourself. Don't be what they want or what you think they want or what somebody else wants. Now, being you may not be great. You may need to fix that. But that's you fixing it, not you pretending to be something else. Okay? So you need to be you. Look, when I met my wife, I told this story all the time. You know, we were sitting one day, we're sitting by my apartment complex. We're sitting out by the pool. The sun was setting. We're just having a nice conversation. We had gone out to dinner. And she looked at me and she was like, listen, I don't want to waste any time, because she was also in her 30s. And she was like, if you're not this, and this, tell me now so I don't waste my time. Man, she was straight. Boom. I know that's surprising to all of you, but all right? And I looked her in the eye honestly and said, I'm not all of that. But I will say your list is really good. And those are all on my list of things I'm working in the direction of. You can believe that as a line or you can believe it as true. But it was true. I was aiming at those. Those are my development list too, of where I wanted to end up eventually. Some of the things I already was, some of them I wasn't. Now I could have just said to her, I said, look, I can just tell you I'm all that and be lying. And some of you would do that, some of you guys. Or the ladies if it was the other way around. No, be real. Be honest, because when you get married, you're going to find out the truth anyway. And then you're going to be like, wait, you weren't like this when we were dating. You weren't like this when I met you. No, they were. They were just hiding it and not, because they were just wanting to get you. Or you were wanting to get them and you weren't honest. A lot of dishonesty going on in the dating process. That's because dating is awful. Nobody should ever date. You should vet. Okay, you're vetting them. Are you the person that will make the most sense for me to spend the rest of my life with? Am I the right person to spend your rest of your life with? Do we have enough that can work well together so that makes some sense? It's not about, oh, he's hot, she's hot, and all that, chemistry. Oh, yeah, there needs to be chemistry. But it can't be about the chemistry from that sexual drawing and that attraction drawing. Because you get so distracted with that, you're not going to pay attention to all the stuff that's jacked up about the rest of it. There will be stuff. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You went after the looks and the thing that seemed all wonderful and found out the rest of that person was pretty jacked up. And you know what I'm talking about. Matter of fact, the prettier and better looking they are, the more jacked up they usually are. Okay? Go look up on YouTube the hot crazy matrix. Okay? This goes for guys and ladies too. Okay? Some of you remember back in school, the guy or the girl that was the one everybody like, oh my God, they were the craziest, out of control people. You didn't want that. So don't be distracted by all that. Look for the quality person that you match and team up with well. That synergizes with you, completes you, right? And you complete them. So the vetting process is the key. That's for all you teenagers. Don't be all excited about your emotions and all this other stuff while you guys are all talking to each other instead of listening to me. I caught you. You guys don't even, why do you think that I'm not right here seeing everything? If you guys sit there doing what you do. Look, you need to be very selective. I'm telling you, divorce is awful. A bad marriage is awful. So sometimes divorce is the only option that makes any sense when the marriage is bad enough. How about let's pick better? Okay, not that you do the best picking you can and it doesn't work, that it guarantees it'll work every time, but you can put yourself in a much better position. Because nobody, I'm promising you, nobody taught any of you how to do this. I wasn't taught how to do this. Praise Yah, I ended up in a good one. But it wasn't without struggles. All marriages have struggles. But it's that vetting process that we need to have, okay? And so, one of the reasons I think the vetting with my wife and I worked really well is because we knew enough then not to get physical early. Because that distracts you from all the stuff that may irritate you and, because you don't care, because right now you're just enjoying being physical with the person, so you ignore the other stuff. Well, guess what happens? You get married and the physical stuff diminishes and the annoying stuff increases. Okay? And actually, it's not that it increases, you're just a whole lot more aware of it. And you say things like, but you weren't like that. And the person goes, yes, I was, but you couldn't see it then. You were distracted. Okay? Because you were in the hunt. You were trying to get a marriage proposal. Or you were trying to get a marriage yes, if you're the guy. You want the yes, the woman wants the proposal, and that's all you're focused on instead of getting the right person. Slow down. Be patient. Okay? Be patient. If you're not completely self-sovereign, remember I talked about this from the idea of being submissive. You can't be submissive till you have your sovereignty first. What do I mean by that? A lot of you are ruled by your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your friends, your this. These people all influence you more than you influence you. You're pushed around and influenced because you're all afraid of what everybody else is going to think. I've done that. There was a young lady I liked when I was a teenager, probably with nothing wrong with her, and we got along great. And some of my friends said, you're like her? I didn't know why they did that. And I didn't even make an effort to figure that out because I was a young, shallow teenager. And I just completely dropped it like a hot potato because my friends all didn't. I was like, that was dumb. Now I'm glad it happened because I didn't end up with her. What I'm just saying is you don't want to have that be in your life where you're going to be influenced by everybody else. Be yourself, be in charge, be sovereign, submit then all of that to him, trust him, and then you can go find that person. You got to be comfortable in your own skin. You got to know who you are. You got to know where you're going and where you want to go so that you find someone going where you're going. Okay, if you're a man, you want someone who's going to go where you're going. If you're a woman, you want a man that's going where you want to follow. I want to look up to, I want to be inspired by, I want to go and follow that man where he's going because I like where he's going. Because he's going to take me where I want to go because we're going in the same place, in the same direction, with the same level of lifestyle, with the same things that, to enjoy. Life's short, but in some ways it's really long if you're with the wrong person and you're miserable. Because that can be long. Okay? There's a song by M.t.o.i. Hey, listen, 1977, that's all you heard in New York on the radio. Some of you are like, 1977, yes, 14 years old. Okay, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. There's a line in there where he's trying to get this girl to want to be intimate with him, and she said that he would have to first promise to love her till the end of time. So he promises her just so that they can be intimate, and then at the end of the song, he's like, and now he's praying for the end of time to hurry up and come along. Because he says, if I got to spend another minute with you, I don't think I can make it. But some of you do that. The line of the song is so real for a lot of people because you make all these promises just because you want the sex, you want the person, you desire them in that way, that fleshly, shallow way, and then you realize there's more to life than that when you have to now live with them and they have to live with you. And now you're like, what did I do? How did I get stuck in this? Because you didn't pick right. All he could think about in that song was he wanted to have intimacy with this girl. And he was going to say anything necessary to make that happen. Promise anything, do whatever. But is that really what you want, though? No, I want a life partnership. Someone that's going to understand their role, and I'm going to understand my role, and we're going to synergize and go forward as echad, as a unit. And if I was single right now, I would be patient for that. I would not rush into that, especially with all the counseling I've done, with all the terrible marriages. And let me tell you, there's a lot of them. Okay? And don't be fooled by everybody walking around like they're as happy as can be. Half of those are the worst. They're just good in public. All right? Because some of you will be like, those people end up in divorce. You'll be like, I didn't see that coming. I thought they were the perfect couple in public. Not the same when they're home. And then some of you get mad when you see, people like me that are not so good in public. If I'm having a problem with my wife, you'll know it. If she's having a problem with me, you'll know it. We're not hiding that stuff. Probably be good if we could, because you guys don't need to see all that. But I'm just saying is we don't put on the show. Some people are really good at the show. But that only makes it worse, because you're putting on that fake show only to go back into the real misery that you're in. Do not do this. Okay? So here's your basic rules of engagement. Number one, if you're covenanted and you're here, or I don't care where you are, You want to find someone who's going where you're going, meaning they are under the same vertical structure. Don't you go look for anybody that's not under my covering if you're in this group. Why? Because then I won't have anything to be able to tell them when they're messing up. You marry somebody not in this group, and then you have a problem, and I want you both to sit with me, the person you marry is going to be like, I'm not under him. I'm not listening to that guy. But if you're both already trusting and submitted to this authority that I have with you, then I can say to whoever needs to, knock it off. Fix it. Straighten it out. Because I'll have leverage and authority that you voluntarily submitted to, that you chose to submit to. So I know you're thinking, oh, but that really limits the field. Good. I'm limiting all the terrible ones out of your field. Okay? Well, not all of them. There's probably some in the, because you got the wheat and the tares and everything else, so there's probably some not so great ones in this field too, but I'm wiping out a whole bunch of them that you will absolutely have problems with. Don't go looking outside of this walk. Don't go looking anywhere else in this walk. If you have a teacher, a leader, if it's me, fine. If it's not, that's who you need to be under. I did a wedding not too long ago. She was under me, he wasn't. I said, if you want me to do this, you need to fix this so that you're both under the one he's under or you're both under me. And they came with me, okay? Because it's not gonna work otherwise, okay? You need to be under authority, the same authority. Otherwise, there isn't anybody to straighten you out. I have a lot of marriages where people call us and one of them is calling here and the other one's not even in the walk or they're doing some other thing and they don't understand why I tell them I cannot help you. I can't help you because your spouse is not going to sit with me and listen to anything because the spouse doesn't look at me the way you do. Doesn't trust that Abba's working with me the way you do. So no, 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 and no. Do not find somebody who's not under the same leadership, walking the same walk as you, period. End of story, no exceptions. Okay? John, you had that problem when I met you earlier, and you had somebody you were dating, and I said, this is a bad idea. Okay? And I'm glad that, I don't want to say I'm glad it didn't work out, but I'm glad it didn't work out. It was a bad idea. Okay, let's not do that. Don't let your emotions and desperation and loneliness cause you to trip into the field that you shouldn't be farming in or the pond you shouldn't be fishing in, okay? A miserable marriage is worse than being single. Trust me, all right? And if you've been married before, you don't want to do this more than one more time. Okay, you've already had one that didn't work, or two, or whatever it was. So let's be a little bit more, diligent about how we go about the new one, the next one, the last one, so that it would be a last one. Okay? This is, so John, I bet you didn't know you were going to open all this up with your question, did you? But I think this is a really good question. I think that we need to understand as we're walking this out. If you are going to claim covenant, and that means that you trust that everything Yahweh says you're going to do, and that he's in charge, and that he's right, and you're wrong about everything. He's always right, we're always wrong, unless we're like him, unless we're in line with him, right? Well, then you cannot worry about him providing for you. Maybe he wants you to stay single. I don't want you to get upset about that. Have peace that whatever he wants is what he wants. But forcing the issue and ending up in a bad marriage is a terrible idea. I don't even know how to emphasize. I mean, that is an awful idea. Because you feel trapped and you're miserable and you're suffering and it's embarrassing and it's socially embarrassing and it's all this other thing and all these other people are involved. It's brutal. Don't do it. Don't do it. But if you do find somebody, then you want to do the things that I've taught in the other classes that I've taught about this. Like you want to do the personality test and figure out to understand what makes them tick and why they're the way they are so they can understand you, why you're the way you are. So we do the color code thing. It's not like the gospel, so to speak, but it gives you some insight. You may realize, I don't want to marry somebody who's this combination of colors because I've already realized I don't do well with that. So finding that out up front may help a little bit, okay? Some of you may realize that you need, somebody with, maybe you've been with somebody before and that person was whatever they were, and you realize, no, I need someone who's more this other combination. Okay? All you ladies, you need to find a guy that at least can activate and walk in the red side. Okay? Even if that's not the primary color. But if the other colors have that red quietly sitting in a corner, that's not going to work well for you. They're not going to lead you right, take care of what needs to be taken care of, and get the thing done, and you're going to be frustrated trying to push them all the time, or drag them or lead them, or whatever you're going to do. Okay? And ladies, you all the blue that you guys got raging like crazy, you're going to have to get that under control. Okay? Because I'll tell you what, if you get the red guy you want, he's going to smack the snot out of that blue. I don't mean physically. You're going to bang up against a strong red, he's just going to say, no. Turn that noise off. Because some of you have tried that with me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? But you should want that. That brings that emotional side under control. All right? My wife is very blue. You all know that. I know that. And there's some wonderful things to that. Okay? But it can be very challenging when we're both fighting for the lead. And so you need to know that, ladies. You don't want to fight for the control of the authority with your red man. And if you have a white man instead who's not fighting for anything, then you're just dominating him and think that's all wonderful until you get frustrated all the time because all you do is dominate him. Okay? And these are colors from the color code. This isn't like skin color. Not picking on white men, okay? But the white personality isn't the most aggressively productive of colors, okay? All right? And so that can be very challenging. Secondly, okay, you need to understand love languages. While you're vetting, you better make sure, it's very helpful, not required, that the person already knows how to speak your language. Because if you have similar languages, it makes life a lot easier, okay? I have no issues with my daughter. We have the same languages. As far as communicating love, we both naturally speak the same language, no problem. My wife and I have opposite languages, which means I have to think about how to speak hers, and she has to think about speaking mine. It's not impossible, it's just a little bit more effort. So I'm not saying if someone's love languages don't match you, don't marry them. I'm just saying, but be aware that that may be an area that takes more effort, okay? And then, of course, the expectations exercise, where you can explain to the other person what you expect them to do and what they can expect from you in the relationship. You're the woman, you say, this is what I am offering you as a wife, this is what you can expect from me, and this is what I expect from you as a husband. You're the man, this is what I'm offering you as a husband, you can expect this from me as a husband, and this is what I'm expecting from you as a wife, and then you negotiate so that you guys end up in agreement as to what that all looks like. Because when you first start off, I promise you, it's not gonna all match. A lot of it might, but it's not going to all match. You got to know that, okay? So, to wrap this all up, I understand the struggle, okay? I really do, because I was single a long time and I did not like it. So some of you are single and you don't like it. I get it, okay? So I don't want you to think, oh, what do you know? You got married at 18 and you never had been, no, I was single a long time, okay? And so I get it. And when I made the choice to walk in this walk, even though it was in that church, but it still was Torah keeping and Sabbath and all that stuff, and even in Christianity, that made us very small as a group, okay? Very small piece. So I knew I was fishing in a very small pond. And then the frustration of, I went to every single church area within driving distance, and there were no single women anywhere close to my age. Thousands of people in these congregations. In Long Island, there were 2 congregations. In Brooklyn, there were some congregations. I did a few in New Jersey. All part of the same church. All single girls, 18 and younger, like 18, not younger, but I'm saying 18, 19, which I wasn't. I don't know if some of you guys want these girls so young. I had no interest. I was in my 20s. I wanted somebody closer to my age, okay? All right, now, the rest of them were all in their 30s. And I wasn't looking for a cougar, all right? All right? Okay, I'm a lion, I'm king of the jungle. I'm not fighting with a cougar. Okay? So, I'm just saying is, I get the frustration, because I was sitting there going, what in the world is going on? How could there be so many singles and they're all guys? In all of these places, where are the ladies? There was tons of them. They were too young or too old. So it wasn't like they weren't there. They were frustrated too, by the way, because all the guys were too young for them or too old for them, either way. And so it was frustrating. So I get that. Anyway, so did that help you, John?
Thank you.
You're welcome.